Oh, really? Who? Jared? Any questions?
He's not coming.
He's on his way too. Says he's tired of this stuff.
Untie him.
Okay, we're good. Okay, welcome to our work meeting for Wednesday, January 8th. Get started right away. Councilman Henderson and Councilman Shields will be here. They're both on their way, but we'll get going. Start with 1.1, review of this evening's agenda. Any changes, comments? Okay, seeing none. 1.2, any future agenda items?
Just following up on the garbage.
It's scheduled for next meeting. If we have an animal services thing, we'll shoot for February with Sherry's questions,
You're awesome.
and we'll get back to you before that with some specifics.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Okay. 1.3, council discussion of future citizen recognitions. Nothing's been received. Any other?
Next meeting will be the Trails Committee.
Okay.
We sit on her group.
We'll go to 2.1 then. Proposal for a 2025 winter holiday event.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Morgan and Paige are unavailable. They had some deaths in their families and they could not make it this week. They're off at funerals, some out of state. So Nathan and I kind of talked about what to do with this item, whether to ask to table it or just kind of move forward and get council's feedback. You were sent a PowerPoint a while back with their concept. It's more like a Christmas in Color that's a walkthrough event at Butterfield Park. They would invest all of the infrastructure for the event, design the event. They would have vendors and entertainment there. They would charge a ticket price. They are asking for reduced or eliminated waiver for fees. They will handle all snow removal, everything to do up there. Friends of Herriman would volunteer at the event and then get some sort of kickback from the ticket purchases that come in. That's really the basis of what they're saying they're gonna do. I don't know if the that's something you're interested in seeing. It would be the pavilion level of the park. If it is, we can work through a property use agreement, come back to you at a future date, maybe when they're available to be here. But if you're not interested at all, then
Just the pavilion level, not the upper level.
that's what they're proposing.
Is there any other use during this time that we've ever had? Storage, they're all doing that,
They're gonna take care of all that.
To me, and they talked about the numbers that would come out.
Yeah.
If you look at what is it?
Christmas in Color.
Over there. I mean, it's gonna have, we talked about destination type stuff out here. It's gonna be a destination event out here. I think.
They're gonna manage parking, do we have any security issues or traffic
They'll
issues?
manage all of that. They'll hire security overnight. So, and I think we have enough room, we can manage parking better than they can, or the flow over at Christmas in Color, if you've been there.
Yeah.
That road gets pretty backed up. I think we have the ability to handle that a lot better at Butterfield Park. Especially
The only hesitation I have is on this waiver or discounting fee kind of thing. I guess, how does that come back to the city as far as, how do we cover our costs on that? We're not making any money off of
They're
that.
projecting an economic development type return to the city. So people come out, get dinner, go to the walkthrough environment. That's what they're giving back to the city. And I don't know what that is.
How you can quantify that yet, yeah?
And it's
I
the
look at it too
first
as a-
year, so we don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I look at it too as almost a free event in the city. Like, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something similar to
Not
what we do.
staff
with-
intensive.
But it's not free if we wait, that we have
Say I
costs
don't want it to
associated
cost
with
us anything, so that's always the thing with any events
100%,
is
yep.
that we should.
Well,
When you're
facilities,
talking about fee waivers and things, if it's costing us something, especially for something like this, it shouldn't. I think concerns of traffic and impact of those neighbors is important too. It's not a city event, right? This is we're trying to raise money, which is great. Friends of Herriman is awesome. If a portion goes to them, a portion's going to the company. Right, so I think, to me, at least for me, those are the two main issues, is the impact to the neighbors
Yeah.
over there. And subsidizing anything like this.
Are they utilizing the pavilion at all?
Yes.
Amenities like bathrooms,
Yes.
so there'll be some
And they-
cleaning and.
According to them, they're gonna handle all of that too. They'll be using the pavilion stage area for performances, so they'll have.
Nothing behind the gate though, lock
Pardon?
gate, behind the lock gate stuff or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Cause you'll have groups back there getting ready to come on stage, I'm sure.
So we'll probably have some staff time during business hours during those days.
Very limited.
Okay.
That's my only
And
concern,
that can be
Yeah.
something we work into the property use agreement.
Yeah.
just because we don't have any idea if there's gonna be any, economic benefits from it, because we have no idea how it's gonna turn out, so it's hard for me just to say.
Not when it'd be better for them to do it here, where it's near.
But it'd be nice to have,
businesses.
I just worry about waiving the.
We do
I just
use
like
this
to cover
part
our
though,
costs.
that part we don't use during that time, so.
And the difficult thing with this park is the entrance and exits. We
To
would have
ticket
to-
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they want
ticketing
to ticket it,
situation, so it's just wide open.
And they wanna do the performances, even if it's snowing, they could do performances on the stage.
Yeah.
The entertainment aspect.
I just don't like waiving fees or reducing them, especially where I don't know if you guys were here when we went through all of that, but the costs of that it's not just cost of personnel, but the wear and tear on
Yeah.
The facilities.
on the facilities, et cetera. So for me, we shouldn't be subsidizing anything, especially for.
I think there could be a reduction in fees, I don't know if I can waive it all the way, but I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I don't know.
And our fees are pretty,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like that shouldn't be a make or break for an organization that's trying to put something on and make some money.
Right, and we just talked, if they were to run it for the whole month, then we started adding up, it was gonna be pretty spendy. If we were to do a break where it's, even a few thousand, maybe to cover,
A flat rate or something.
just a flat rate and then see how it goes next, see how it goes and then analyze it, maybe a 1 year type. And then we analyze again next year.
I do think that we have to have some language in there that what ifs happen, right?
Traffic controls, right, that's my main thing, is any event that we have, then we've gotta have police there to get people in and out safely, et cetera. What needs to go into an agreement that requires them to, the only people that can do that is police, right?
Yeah, if it were to spill out onto the streets because it's wildly popular, we would have to figure that out, but I think Wendy's right with it. There does seem to be a better staging ability there.
Yeah.
Than
Run
where
into
it's
the
Springfield.
west instead of on the
And if you go to Christmas, it's a ticketed event, they're gonna minimize, they're not gonna it's not gonna be 10,000 people showing up at one time. There'll be ticketed times.
It'll be scheduled, yeah.
Scheduled, so you're not gonna have you're not gonna have the exit like we do at the rodeo, when everybody's leaving at once at the end of the night.
And they do have experience doing these events, they're both involved with Christmas and Color. Paige does events in Minnesota or Michigan, a big Halloween event, so it's not like this is their first
Yeah.
rodeo.
It's in a rodeo.
So they do have experience in working through
So it's gonna be more like
production
a
issues.
luminary type of an event, like
Yeah.
you're walking through light, okay.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea at all, I think it's great, I think it's great to have the activity and stuff, I just don't wanna, we have to cover our costs as a city, I just think that we should require that from anyone. And if we say for these guys, well, we won't charge you as much, then the next guy comes in and say, well, you did that for them, and the next guy, it's not good precedence, we just cover our costs.
And it's hard to know what our cost is, I mean, electrical, facility stuff, and then,
Especially
We have that
since we
guy over
haven't,
there, he's so good at figuring all that stuff out.
our analysts.
it's easier once we have history, we don't have any
Yeah.
history,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't.
We kinda know, I mean, as a general rule, what it costs to, cause are they gonna clean the bathrooms to our standards, or, you know what I mean, so it's like, I don't know. I assume so,
So it can be part of the maintenance agreement,
yeah.
Yeah.
as part of the property use.
So I'm hearing yes, but let's just make sure in the agreement we've got everything covered.
And I'll bring that back to you all before we go any further.
Cause they need to start purchasing stuff and have that agreement soon, right?
Yeah.
To make it happen this year, are they looking 25 fall?
Yes.
Winter?
And based on this investment, they may want a multi-year, I'm looking at that, I would want a multi-year for that kind of money that I was.
Absolutely, that's fine too, yeah, I think that's.
We're looking at 3, 5?
I don't know, we'll see what they.
And that's what we have to do in our agreement too, is just to make it somehow the wording
That we can
states
adjust
we
after a
cover
year
our
or
costs,
after,
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Well, and then some of the other issues, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that we can make adjustments, we're
Yeah.
not stuck with.
3-year
that
agreement,
for-
that's
yeah.
that.
We usually write that into our contracts.
Okay,
Be fun.
come back in
Yeah,
February.
they show pictures, they show us pictures, it's really cool there visiting. Could be great. I kind of picture it being like Ogden gets that.
Where's Ogden?
Okay. Okay, perfect, thank you. 2.2, city insurance provider discussion. Travis?
No, I appreciate it. I almost hate to stand up and do a PowerPoint presentation, to be honest, but there's some good numbers that I think is gonna be super helpful in this.
Nobody's making it.
This isn't we're just gonna shut it down, just gonna go off the cuff here. But this is an opportunity, we have, I guess we have an opportunity, and I appreciate some feedback. If you have any concerns or questions, I think it's a good opportunity, before we make any final decisions and move forward with anything. But I'm sure we've all noticed insurance increases are going up substantially. I don't know if you've checked your auto in your home, right? Thought about looking at other carriers and things like that, because insurance is going up. And that's one of the things that we've noticed. And we thought to ourselves, well, maybe we need to look at other carriers as well. So on the things that we're kind of looking at, the average insurance is going up about 26% in 2014. We saw a similar trend back in 2013. And so we thought this is a pinch point for the city. What can we do to potentially save money here as a city? So we went out and talked to some of the bigger insurance providers for local governments, right? Currently, right now, we're with the trust, and they came back and said, hey, our increase for the next upcoming year, we're expecting it to be for you guys about $402,000 for the year. And we're talking specifically about property insurance, so like our buildings, liability insurance. Something happens here in the city that they find fault for us, auto insurance and cybersecurity insurance as well. So we went to Olympus. They're the second largest provider for local governments. And they said, hey, we can get you a deal. We can get you a plan for about $320,000. Okay, it sounds like a great idea on the surface, but there's always some risk reward when you start looking at lower premium costs. So this is what ultimately it would look like for us if we went with a lower cost there. Our deductibles would go up. So they call this a semi or a semi-self-insured plan. Our deductibles for property right now are about $1,000, so if an incident happens, we pay the first $1,000. But with Olympus Insurance, if we went the lower rate, our deductible would go up to $25,000. Auto, depending on the size or the value of the vehicle, would either be $2,500 deductible or a $10,000 deductible for our more expensive vehicles. Right now with the trust, we have a $500 deductible, which is very low. General liability, you can see $10,000 or $25,000, depending on the type of liability claim it is. Right now with the trust, we have a zero liability. Cyber coverage is really interesting. Cyber, that's a hot topic these days. Right now with the trust, we have a pool of coverage. It says within the trust pool, there's a $2 million bucket. So depending on who uses that, when they use it, depending on when you need it, right, that bucket may or may not be there or available for us. If we go with the trust, we'd have our own cybersecurity bucket, but it'd be $1 million. Anything above that gets really, really expensive and pricey, but something we could look at. So we hope to save about $60,000 a year, and the numbers how I came up with that is I took, Olympus Insurance deductibles, I took all our claims and said if we paid out those claims with those new deductibles, or we paid out a pocket for claims that are less than the deductibles, what would that kind of look like on a year-to-year basis? And we can definitely see that we're, fluctuating about, on average about $345,000 per year. So we're seeing a really good trend at the city of what we're spending, what the claims kind of look like, versus the premium that the trust is providing for us this year, right? So we have an opportunity, I'm gonna say an opportunity, right? From what we've seen from the trends to save about $60,000 a year. One thing that we haven't talked about yet is the workers' comp insurance. Our workers' comp claims have been down for years. We're doing awesome as a city. And so we're much below the industry standard for workers' comp claims. That provides the trust an opportunity to keep our premiums very low for workers' comp premiums, okay? If we went with Olympus, they'd have to give us the standard or the industry average of what claims would be for our risk. And so our premium would be substantially higher, staying with Olympus Insurance.
So we don't have to look them all
You don't
together.
have to bundle.
We don't have to bundle. Okay,
Same thing.
So Olympus Insurance provides us an opportunity, and this is why I feel really confident that I think this is a good opportunity for us as a city, right? Potentially, right? I'm estimating we could save $60,000 a year because we have our safety and our risk program set up really well. So one of the industry standards that works really well, we make sure that if a department gets into an accident or has a claim, they pay the deductible for it. Okay, right now it's $500. If we went with Olympus, we'd have to work with budgeting over the next couple of years to fund that or to budget that, right, the larger deductibles. But it gives some kind of skin in the game, right? So if department has a lot of claims, the manager's looking at it, we're sucking out their budget, and they're thinking we've got to put some things into place so we're not eating up our budget with these issues. Second, we have an awesome safety committee that we put together here at the city. They review all incidents, all accidents, make a determination there's something we can provide to departments to make a safer workplace so these incidents don't happen again. We do safety trainings on a weekly basis, at least at the shops, monthly here at City Hall. Keep safety in mind for people. We have a team incentive program, and this has worked out really well for us. So this is set up that everybody in the city is put into teams. If anybody on your team gets into an accident or has an incident, your team loses their reward for the month. If no one on the team has an incident or accident for the month, then the whole team gets their reward. Right now we do $5 tokens, $5 coins they can hand in for gift cards. So it's a pretty minimal cost, but we've seen some great benefits coming back from a team incentive program. And actually the police, we gotta give kudos to the police. Both insurance companies have looked at the police. They both talked to the chief to an extent. And because of our low risk culture with the police and because of our low claims with the police, which is almost always the highest claiming department, both of them have come back strongly and said, we love the philosophy of your police department. We feel like you have a lower risk with your police than the industry standard. And that's why sometimes we're able to keep these premiums down. So kudos to the police on that. And then we have an opportunity, if we can save, let's say on average $60,000 a year, we put that into a bank, we keep that in our budget. As that budget grows, we have an opportunity to then to go back to insurance and say, hey, we're willing to take on more risk because we have a pool of money. Let's raise the deductibles again, and then we're gonna lower our premiums again. And that's just gonna kind of keep rolling until hopefully, right, we have a great bucket and really low deductible, or really low premiums at that point. So potentially continue saving money in the future with this opportunity.
We're seeing that with some of our sister cities that are larger than us, they've already made this jump. So this is just kind of an evolutionary thing, I think, as you grow, that this becomes the direction.
Yes. So I'm looking for any feedback, any comments, any feedback that we got with this.
Makes sense, good work.
Yeah,
Love it. Love the direction.
Yeah, great.
right, way to go.
Thank you, Travis. Okay, we've got 2.3, Hungry, Herriman, and Marketplace schedule for 2025. Welcome. And Elliot, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Elliot. For anyone that doesn't know him, he is the general manager of the Food Truck League. I have him here in case you guys have questions, especially surrounding sales tax, because I don't. That's hard. Yep. So as we were looking at our schedule for next year, so oh my gosh, thank you, Wendy, this year, for this upcoming summer. We were looking at our weekly markets, weekly food truck roundups, and just the resources that it takes to hold that event, and looking at the attendance in the community and deciding if we wanted to continue that or if we want to switch it up a little bit. We noticed just a noticeable difference in the attendance from 23 to 24. It was much lower this last summer. That's the feedback we got from Food Truck League. That's the feedback that we got from our market manager. So we were just proposing a new schedule that we would change our weekly markets to a monthly market instead, and coordinate it with our larger already city planned events to make it more of a bigger event that's not additional resources. There are already things that we have going on, to try to get our markets more business, get the food trucks more business, and just create a better event, essentially. So just wanna get your feedback back on that and see if you have any questions or if you guys are okay with that proposed schedule that I attached. And then we did staff is recommending to add some type of fee for food trucks and for market vendors so that we can get away from the conversation of how is this sales tax revenue coming back to the city. It's very, very hard to track. Kyle's tried to help us with it a little bit. Elliot's tried to help us, it's very hard.
How does it work, Elliot? How does that typically work?
So any sales that a food truck makes, where their commissary is, gets a little bit larger of a percentage, and then everything else goes into a general fund that's split between all cities based on, I think, population.
So they're getting that 0.5%.
So their point of sale is their commissary rather than the actual point of sale.
That's where their sales tax is distinguished, is
And
determined.
is there a special permit or special license they can get for an event to claim the sales tax at that event?
Fort Herriman Days, you have a sales, tax number that they report under that sales tax number instead.
That's how we capture that.
That's
way to do
what
that.
we were doing.
We were
We
doing
were
that.
setting up a temporary sales tax ID for town days, rodeo, but for the weekly events,
Is that a lot of work to set it up weekly?
it's a lot of paperwork.
So
Yes.
when we started setting up food truck roundups, we talked with the tax commission, and neither of us wanted to drown each other in paperwork from having that on a weekly basis. So they said, as long as it's majority food trucks and you're not doing these extra things, then you don't have to fill out a sales tax form for it. So it's double-edged sword that when Salt Lake City has theirs, you guys get a piece of that. When you guys have yours, other cities have a piece of that as well.
So Elliot, do you think we'll get pushback at all with a small fee to the trucks? They do pretty well, I hear, normally, don't they?
I actually have pushback on that one.
So when we talked about it, he's okay with our recommended fee for the monthly events. He thinks that would be fine, so the extra 5% that would come back to the city. But the weekly is what he has concerns about.
Yeah, so full transparency, when we schedule the food trucks here, we charge them 10% of sales as a way to run our business. And that 5%, we would pass that to the trucks, so they would be charged 15% instead of 10%. The industry standard for 15% is a lot closer to the monthly market where there's live music, the trucks can all plug in, there's a lot more amenities that go along with that in the industry. You can always get away with it if it's busy enough and the trucks are kind of desperate enough to pay the percentage just to have somewhere to go. But we really try hard to keep that 10% on a weekly basis because the trucks are they're small businesses, we're a small business, we're trying to preserve that margin.
And that 10% goes to you?
Well, he gets 10% for Food Truck League,
Right.
but then an additional 5 would come to us.
Oh, there is 5 that.
But
we
you-
get 15. Okay.
If so,
Yeah, 15
So
total.
there's something coming to the city besides the sales tax?
Not yet.
Not right now.
Not yet.
There would
Yeah.
be.
yes, so we charge 10% to the trucks, and if the city decided to charge 5% from us, then we wouldn't be able to hold that and just pay that out from us. We would have to have it come from the trucks as well. That's our model. So for Herriman Days, we charge the trucks 15% and we pay 5% straight back to the city.
But if we change to this new calendar and we change to 5%, you're good with that?
On the monthly markets, yes, we like that. That's more in line. From the weekly basis,
So we were gonna move our markets to monthly, but keep our food trucks weekly.
Okay, so only the market days would get the extra percentage.
so
Yeah.
three weeks of the month would be 10%, and then the market month would be 15% for the trucks.
Sales tax.
So,
for the market.
and that's what I'm.
I should say for years with this thing, but
So,
it's it's good to have them at events, but to encourage people to come on a weekly basis versus our actual brick and mortar that invested in the community, et cetera, et cetera.
What?
Like
Yeah.
why would we wanna keep doing a weekly, given
What's
the
the
dropping
advantage here?
numbers, et cetera?
From my standpoint, I don't have a strong feeling either way. I like the variety, I like having them here. But for like me as an employee of Herriman City, we don't do anything with the food trucks, they're self-manageable. So having them here weekly doesn't add work or resources, it doesn't take from the city,
Is there
so.
any staff time that night, Lauren? Don't we have people here running garbages and stuff?
If
Only when a
it
market
was
service
food trucks, we wouldn't need to. So that's why when I was looking at changing it, I thought,
So again, I guess my question is why is this something the city would want to keep doing.
So the strong example would be like Salty Pineapple is a food truck that opened a restaurant here in Herriman because they are building a base of followers that every time they came out to Herriman, they got a lot of business. And so they built a restaurant in Herriman to follow through with that. So the food truck model is finding where people really like you and then moving and growing in that area, either with a commissary space. So every food truck needs a commissary where they park their truck at night. Those cities, like South Salt Lake City, I think has 4 commissaries, that they're getting an extra bit of sales tax from anywhere that the food trucks go because that's their home base. And so the more traction you have with food trucks in your city, the more attraction is for commissaries in your city area as well. We have pretty high demand for commissaries in South Salt Lake County. Most of the commissaries are in South Salt Lake or in Salt Lake City. So the tax benefit is building on the community that already loves food trucks and then encouraging the food trucks to put down more community roots and improving this community because this is where they're coming out more often and building their following.
I guess my question is though, it doesn't sound like we're growing that business, it sounds like it's shrinking.
When we looked at the numbers, market versus food trucks, the food trucks were busy, way busier than the market. So when we were looking who's coming to these weekly events, they were here for the food trucks, not
Yeah,
the market.
I think there's some other factors in that.
Yeah.
How much money are we talking about capturing or not capturing from last year on a weekly basis from food truck sales? We talking a few $100s in sales tax or a few $1,000s in sales tax on a weekly basis? What do you think?
That's a great question. Typically it's a few $100s.
Yeah,
We're talking.
Trevor and I did it and it was pretty minimal.
Yeah, I think we're. I don't mind the weekly. I love that it's the third Monday and it's static every third Monday. It's easier to market, easier to advertise for the monthly stuff.
Yeah.
I like that move.
Yeah, I'm pretty sold on that.
Are we
That's-
staying with the same vendor for the markets? Are we out for RFP or?
My hope is to just stay with the same.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if she'll be open to this model. I haven't talked to her about
Okay.
that. She knows there's changes, so we're just waiting for this meeting, so.
I do get Jared's point and about taking business or bringing other options out. They're not really competing options with local restaurants. A lot of those trucks are, there are pizza trucks, we have pizza vendors, right?
There are, you talked to Los Tapatios, did not, they say Monday night's their worst night. Cause everybody comes here. They don't get any business on a Monday night, cause,
Yeah, they're across the street from the event, so I can see that.
and I don't know if there is others, right? There could be
Yeah.
others. That's my concern. To Jared's point, there's people that have invested.
Well, and I think the same thing goes for, to me, any of the events, right? More is not necessarily better, right? If it's an event that people look forward to
Would
coming
you-
to, so, I really don't care looking at the numbers, right? The market is the thing that's costing us money, it sounds like, so moving it out to once a month, it seems like a no-brainer. I really don't care one way or another about the food trucks. That's just always been the dynamic that I've pointed out.
Yeah.
I'm okay keeping how it is for now. I think we may get to a point, to be honest, where we've got enough restaurants out here that it's, like, they
Once a
may
month
not do
with the
well,
event,
right? The
yeah.
trucks might not even do well, right? There might be enough stuff.
The idea with the event is it's a city event. You guys tell me what you want and I do my best to make it happen.
And I think you guys have been great with that. Like I said, this isn't an indictment on you or the league or anything. That's just a.
Well, maybe I need to just distinguish between the two. The market is the city event. Once a month.
Right, yes.
That great to have them there. Food trucks coming on a weekly thing is their,
Yes,
it's
100%.
not a city event.
Is that correct?
The only thing
It's city
we allow
sanctioned,
them-
but-
we
We still
allow them,
advertise it as Hungry Herriman,
and we
right?
allow them to use the parking lot.
Yeah.
There's no staffing at all. If we go away from the,
Correct.
each truck would have their own.
And there's no amenities, right? There's no power, there's no facilities, there's no, the bathrooms are open, but we're already there
They
anyway,
do.
so.
Eventually, when those pads develop, we'll have to talk about changes anyway.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So you got my point from the
Yep.
earlier conversation is we shouldn't be something.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so, are you guys good with the 5% of sales on larger events and not the weekly food trucks if we keep food trucks weekly?
Yeah.
And then the $10 fee for market vendors at our monthly events and at our larger events, state events.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's pretty minimal.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
Good job.
I think we're good.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Laura.
Okay. 2.4. CDBG grant request for Salt Lake County. Wendy.
All the information is in your packet. We are an entitled community for CDBG funds, which are federal funds. There's not a lot of uses you can use it for. This is our first year going through that program in its current format. Salt Lake County's had quite a bit of turnover in this department, so we're relearning how it all works with them, which has been fun. But our recommendation for 2025, 2026 is $15,000 towards transportation services to the Riverton Senior Center for Herriman residents, $15,000 towards a consolidated plan, $96,530 towards phase 2 of the community center remodel, and $1,000 toward administrative costs. Do you have any questions? This has already been presented to the county. It'll go back to the county again. They didn't have any concerns with our request. We can amend it if you feel like you need to amend that.
Our future goal is to have that building where we're not transporting to Riverton.
Yeah, one day,
Yeah, cool.
We did get the numbers back. I should have forwarded those, but we got the numbers back from Riverton
yeah.
Senior Center. Yeah, averaging about 7 a day. Herriman residents.
Oh, that's not bad, but we need to, I mean, we got more than 7.
Yeah, I think if it
Once.
was our own, it would get more community, you'd get more
Yeah.
people
Oh,
interested.
Well, I mean, you look at the
Would be
bingo and the
ours,
senior
county.
night and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Wouldn't be ours, Riverton's is not theirs, it's the county.
Right,
Right,
100%.
and county's not gonna
Located here.
expand senior services, they already told me no.
So it'll be ours.
You guys are gonna have to decide what you wanna do at a future
Show me
date.
if there's money.
There's, well, that's why we use CDBG funds.
Cause really, the only thing we've talked about being a senior option is it wouldn't be food, it would just be an open center where they could
Programming.
come and do their own, if they wanna do a potluck dinner or. A lot of them just
Where
want
we
a
do
chance to get
bingo
together,
and
yeah.
tables and senior night, yeah.
Justin and Monty have been working on, the energy efficiency upgrades that we've got a grant from the federal government for that as well. I don't know if you wanna provide any update on those?
Yeah, so design's wrapping up. Monty and I received kind of the final designs last week. And so we're reviewing those and going over those, electrical, HVAC, and then the remodel of the actual building itself. So we should hopefully finalize those this month and then go out to bid in the next month or two, so.
Are you gonna put in like 26 more units? Cause it is about that many.
There's, so it'll be phased, obviously, as we go through. HVAC and electrical will be our main focus this year, just because of the grant. But, yeah, and then the additional funds next year will help with the actual remodel. We might get some remodeling done, demolition this year, but those types of things, so.
Okay. It's good to me. All good? Everybody good? Okay. Flying along. Okay, 2.5, Fire Station 103 design update. Justin.
John, you have the clicker. Thank you. So we have Nathan and Kate here from AJC, the architect. And so I'll go through a couple slides here and then I'll turn some time over to them to go through some of the stuff you haven't really seen yet. So just wanted to thank AJC and UFA. It's been a great process so far. And so I'll go through a couple slides here. I kind of snuck some in that they don't know about yet, but so I'll cover those. Turn this on. So this is the site plan. You've seen this before. There's just a general building. There's a small outbuilding shed there on the back corner, and then the opposite corner is the generator and dumpster enclosure. There's an 8-foot precast wall that will go around the 3 sides, and then it'll be open to the front. That's pretty much it on that. I think, there we go. This is the landscape plan. We've made a few adjustments that the planning commission planning department has asked for. This will be going to planning commission next week for approval, or for consideration, I should say. Couple things that we're talking about with the planning commission is the trees that are in the front of the building. We may have touched on this last week, or last meeting in September, but trees in the park strip and trees along the frontage makes it difficult for the fire trucks to be able to see as they're coming out. And then we're also, that 8-foot precast wall, the panels that are next to the sidewalk will be half high, so that as they're coming out, they'll be able to visually see the sidewalk and traffic coming and going. So that will be a request to the planning commission. We have a waiver of strict compliance with them to kind of eliminate the park strip tree and then maybe talk about changing these to low shrubs or something rather than trees, so that they have that visibility when they're leaving.
Agree 100%. You go fire truck, you don't wanna.
Yeah.
No sight.
And then this, you haven't seen, this is the floor plan and kind of general layout of the building. One main component I want to bring up is with these prototypes that they're designing, they wanted to make sure there was a clear delineation for firefighter safety between the apparatus bay and where all the dirty things happen, chemicals they have, and the living quarters. And so that's delineated. You have these two separate areas, the apparatus bay, where I'll call the dirty, and the living quarters, what we'll call the clean. And then there's a delineation line right here with double doors that enter in from the app bay into that area, so that there's that clear delineation, so that we're not taking the chemicals and the dirty, turnout gear and those things into the living quarters. So just the general layout, we have the apparatus bay, there's 2 bays, and then we have, a lot of their turnout gear, laundry stations, restrooms, those types of things here, mechanical equipment, general storage of their equipment. And then here we have their sleeping quarters that are here, and they've laid this out so there is a quick access from their sleeping quarters into the apparatus bay for quicker response times. They have the kitchen area through here, and then this is where general, common space areas, meetings, dining area, and then area where they can relax, and then an exercise room and area right here. So, and then on this, there is a second level just on that center area through it's part of the app bay, but this is where mechanical, IT, and electrical equipment will be. And then this area through here is a training area which has openings down from the second floor so they can do multi-level training access. There's a manhole there so they can practice going into confined space. That's part of that.
No pole?
No pole.
Son of a dog.
Whittison can add that later if he wants. No pole?
No.
Okay, you guys
No. Broken ankles.
repelling then off the second down to the second.
There you go.
There. Okay. So any questions on that before I turn it over to Nathan? We do have some samples here, I guess, some color boards and material boards. If you guys want, we can show those as we go through. But we have, so I'll turn this over to Nathan if you want.
Hello, I'm Nathan Williams with AJC Architects. I'm the project manager for this project. So I'm just gonna, Justin did a great job kind of describing the purpose of the building, the layout. And so I'm just gonna talk briefly about the exterior finishes, which I think the council has seen previously, and actually helped us make the determination on which scheme we were gonna go for. And so we've kind of been pushing that forward. But very high level, as Justin mentioned, it's sort of a tripartite plan with that center volume being the taller volume. Overall palette, brick, similar to what you have on City Hall here, so that it kind of proceeds a little bit. And then the app bay is capped by a translucent insulated wall panel, so it'll bring daylight into that apparatus bay. And then that center volume is kind of like the showpiece, I guess. It's what we use to create a unique identity for each station. And so this one we're using an aged copper to kind of reference the Kennecott mine nearby. And it works really nicely with the brick. The main entry is identified with a champagne lighter metal panel. Let's see, is this the, whoops, wrong way. Oh, don't know that we have that slide. Well, you can sort of see it down there in the lower, yep, thank you. The silversmith metal accent panel, it's sort of a champagne color. But it'll be a brighter finish there at the main entry, just to identify that as the main entry there. And that's basically the exterior finish palette. Does anyone have any questions on that or comments?
I love it.
Would anybody like to
Oh,
see
and
these?
I neglected to mention, we have samples for both the exterior finishes
I think it's cool.
and
These
the
little
interior
grips.
finishes.
Yeah.
This is the
So-
translucent panels.
Is that copper? Is it real copper?
No.
I'm trying to keep it durable, so.
Still a no.
The green.
It would at least be green, it would look like a Christmas tree.
Patina, yeah.
Definitely green on there. Alright.
So, we'll move on, I guess, to the interior finish palette. I'm gonna introduce my colleague, Caitlin.
Yeah, that's cool.
She,
It's like translucent corrugated.
kind of work through the interior finishes, and we also have interior finishes for review if you guys wanna see them.
Light in.
You don't need to get into them necessarily, but they're here if you wanna review them. Just as a high-level overview, so the idea for the interior finishes was to have a relatively neutral palette, nothing overly extravagant, and key drivers were durability, really durability, because it takes a beating, it's a fire station.
Do we epoxy the garage floors, the apparatus floors, or are these just plain concrete or?
It's a sealed concrete.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Kate?
Yeah, and so I mean, overview, then you have your base finishes in certain areas, and you'll have a metal base, and then throughout most of like building, then you will have a rubber base, and then in restrooms, and you'll have that trim. Flooring, most of it is the sealed concrete, except for in the dorm rooms, and then you find the carpet tile, which we pulled that carpet tile from what has been being used in like remodels for Unified. That they've had a lot of success with, sorry. And then we have our dowel tile for the restrooms, and then your fitness floor, and then you have some pavers that are in like that middle yard. And then casework wise, then we have a fairly warm plastic laminate, and then we have the thinscape, and that's in the dorms, specifically for the desks, and you have the 2 quarts that are going to be in restrooms and then also within the kitchen. And so the island is the black quartz, and then the main is the white. And then there's certain areas that we have a stainless steel, like in the decon laundry areas.
You guys have better luck with carpet tiles than you do with just some sort of a laminate floor kind of thing to where it's easy to clean, easy to whip up.
So in dorms, because that's the only space that we call out a carpet tile, then the carpet tiles are pretty like stain resistant and fairly easy to clean. They also, what's nice about the tile is that if one does get damaged, pull it out, put one back in. Also in like a sleeping room, then most people want it to feel a little bit more cozy. And so that's why we typically call out a carpet in there.
Yeah, so
Warmer,
throughout
quiet.
the
Yeah,
entire
it's
station,
Yeah.
the living quarters, it will
Yes,
be
it's
the sealed
concrete.
concrete.
Nice. Yeah, it's just quieter too if you have carpet.
Just in
Yes,
the individual dwelling units is where we
Yeah.
have the carpet.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yes, absolutely. Paint wise, then most of the paint that is going to be used is that white. The ceilings is the brighter white. The iron ore is your exposed to structure. Then it's a painted structure. And then we have your door frames. And then that red is that accent that was used on like the exterior. And then if we want to pull in another accent color, then we can. And that's that last one. So the fun one is on the wall finishes and and we'll go to the next slide so that you can see it, this one. So in the day room, then which one was this? Oh, thank you. Was it this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the day room, then we have this wood accent ceiling over here, and then also above the dining, and then we have some desks right here. So that is where this wood material is being used on the ceiling, and then also it elevates onto the wall, and so it creates a waterfall type feature. And then we have let's see.
Yeah, and on that vertical surface that comes down, we have designated 103.
Right
for-
here.
For the station number, yeah.
That's cool.
And that's like behind your workstations area. And then within the entry, then we're using that gray champagne material that's on the exterior. We're pulling it into the interior on the vestibule side. And instead, typically then what we call out is a what is it? It's like a map of like the history of like Herriman or something. It's a vinyl. It doesn't usually print out well, and so we're gonna change it to having the unified shield instead, and having that on your lobby wall.
So that'll be the accent wall as you come into the building, it'll be that unified, sort of as a relief in the champagne colored metal panel.
On this wall.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And so that's your day room, and then your kitchen to be able to see a little bit more of like where your materials are being used. Those are your kitchen elevations. So we have the casework, the countertops, the paint, all of it. Okay.
Looks good, stainless steel counters, yeah?
Not in the kitchen. So in the kitchen, it's a quartz. The stainless steel is a base. Then I think that we do call it out possibly underneath, like at the toe kick.
The
Yeah.
island.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so at the toe kick. And then we also have called out this same metal panel that we're using on the exterior. Then we're calling it out on the back of the island.
Nice.
There too.
For durability.
Yes. And so this is your typical, this is your captain's quarters, and so are there any thoughts, comments?
He's just making sure that he really wants to leave 103. The original 103.
In your restrooms, then the typical finishes are gonna be a wall tile that goes up the walls, and that's the 2x4 tile, then, or 1x2, I think is actually what it is, but it's a 1x2, then it goes up. We'll have it go from floor to ceiling, and then the shower portions will have this being used.
It's not a
And
tile, it's more
No.
of your panel, so that it's easier for maintenance and cleaning.
yes, it is still it is still technically a
But it's a full
ceramic,
sheet,
but it is a
right?
full
Yeah,
sheet,
that's
and
right.
so that's the benefit of it, is that there's not as many grout lines.
Easier to clean.
Yes. And that's also your dorm room finish for your captains. And there's not a big difference between your typical sleeping quarters and your captains. It's just your typical sleeping quarters is a little bit smaller than your captains, but the restrooms remain the same with the same tile being used. And then your desk is used in here too. I think that's it. Those are our finishes.
Have any questions on?
Questions, comments?
Good job. That's cool.
Any thoughts, changes you wanna make before we move through on design or finalize it?
Proximity on the lot, where is it sitting off that 129? Is it on the Rosecrest corner or on the, residential?
Yeah, there's that Jordan Valley water line.
It's on the far west side of that, so it's in the southwest corner of that large parcel up against the residence there.
Traffic control signals or no, and all that, nothing?
If we were on 5600 west, then we may think of doing some hawk signals type lights, but on 129th, I don't think we'll need those.
Okay.
But you're right, we may need something to get onto 5600.
To get onto Rosecrest, yeah, from the, yeah, maybe.
Cool, looks good, I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too.
Remind me the
Excited too,
timeline.
Thank you.
So we're looking to finish up this spring, go out to bid, and then it's a 14 to 16 month construction time, so it'd be summer 26.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's gonna be cake, ribbon cutting,
Pancakes.
pancakes, ooh.
Not
Uh,
donuts.
One more thing,
That's them.
What's a fire starter? It'll be food.
Every time I go over there,
Food and sleeping.
Yeah, you know,
every single time.
I haven't seen kitchens and beds in the police station.
Well, you,
That's a good.
yeah,
so
you have to determine what kind of firemen they are. Until they're tired or sleep until they're hungry. Most of them are.
So one change to the landscape plan, and it's actually Chief Robinson that brought this up, is we're gonna look at doing some type of monument sign out here. We'll be coming back to the planning commission for a sign permit. But he really wanted to have one, they have them on some of their other stations, but he wants to use it so that we can have both the UFA and Herriman logo out in front of the building. And then also if we ever decide we wanna name the station, then we can put a name there or something in the future. But he really wanted to be able to show our relationship with UFA by having Herriman and UFA on the same sign out front. And so we'll be coming back through planning commission to do some type of a monument sign here in the front of the building, so,
Palmer 103.
yeah, maybe.
You could do something like Old Town or
Yeah.
location based, right?
The numbers, I like the numbers.
Yeah, that's how it's
Still be
signified
number.
anyways,
I don't
but
know, however long we've been in this
All-town
building, I
103.
still don't know what the names of these conference rooms are.
It's like, what? I have to go to Midas Creek?
yeah,
One day, before I was on the council, I typed in Midas Creek and I was like going to a meeting somewhere outside of the city over on Midas Creek.
Some open space. No, looks great.
Thanks,
We
man.
appreciate your work on it.
I think you
Thanks
guys.
for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for your work.
They have those samples and all these back, those samples, they can take.
We'll get them.
Yeah.
You don't, your wife.
Just saying that same thing happened here. She did it.
Yep.
I agree. Okay, moving right along then. 2.6, city council board and committee assignments. Nathan.
Yep, so this is just our annual look, and so you do have a hard copy in front of you, sorry, it's trying to print this as big as I could.
Last year,
You can also zoom in on your PDF if you want, but I did give you a hard copy. So these are just our current assignments, we have been updating throughout the year if you've made changes. So this is as they currently are. We're just looking to, this is your annual opportunity to, if you wanna switch things around, or, so it's kind of up to you all, how you want to approach.
one I didn't see on here was the South Valley Chamber.
Either. And then, so I don't know that I've ever been to the finance committee meeting, somehow I might not be on the email address.
Have we
I don't
had
think we've had a finance committee.
For a long time.
Yeah, well, cause usually during the budget.
Yeah, so, okay, and then the education committee, we haven't met for a while, you know, we were meeting every quarter and then.
Daryl reached out a little while ago to do an open house at school and we coordinated and then that never happened, so.
So maybe get a March meeting or something.
I'll work with Shelley tomorrow, maybe we'll.
Yeah, let's set something back up on that. Sorry, I don't know if you guys wanna have somebody else on that, it's just never happened.
Well, none of the, we've got through all our high topics, so.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything to change on here unless you guys.
We will add the South Valley Chamber, how that's assigned. As part of the South Valley Chamber, they assigned me to be part of the Ski Utah. I don't ski,
Yes.
and I don't intend to go to any of the meetings, I don't wanna go up that canyon during the winter. So, it's there, I don't know why they sent it to me as the South Valley, I don't know if they called you and you just
Said no.
said no, and so they decided it had to be me, but, we will add the representation on that, but if any of you have a burning desire to be part of Ski Utah, let me know, we can have that membership.
Skiers are
Falling down the side of the hill is
I
no
have
longer
skis,
exciting.
they haven't been on snow for like
Let's
10 years.
ski in that.
You don't
That's
think
like
about
about
breaks.
Oh, sure. Who doesn't ski?
Yeah, they're probably gonna
race
ramp
in
up hard on
Utah?
this
Come
stuff
on.
because of the Olympics.
Do any of
Ski
you
club
guys,
when you were in high school, come on.
I was in Carbon County, there's no ski. Does anybody want off or wanna change?
I don't see Jared's name a lot on this.
I'm good with what I got. Oh, the lift that is UFA.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
won't trade.
Are you good? Are you okay?
Yeah, except I have to deal with another year of my wife asking me, what's the buzz with the mosquito district? She loves to give me that question all the time.
She loves to harass you.
Yes.
What's the buzz?
What's the
I get it,
buzz?
that's very funny.
Take it from
Yeah,
there,
it's all good.
unless there's any.
The coolest 2.7 is
2.7 legislative update. Anything to talk about today?
Not really anything to talk about, just that it's coming.
They are starting to number bills,
they
so
are
you are
starting-
starting to see that.
Yeah, and there's a number of things that, pre-legislation that we've been given updates and that a lot of us sit on different committees that we're looking out for, so nothing to report as of yet.
Have we made meetings with Candace or Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Candace is
Candace.
coming up, but not.
We sent out a second invite to Senator McKay, and I have not heard.
And Senator Thatcher just declined, right?
Correct. That's my understanding, he said he didn't claim or something.
Okay.
Yeah, the one
We
with
had-
Candace is soon.
And I probably RSVP too, I just think.
I'm just looking to try and see where.
This is the 16th, I think, I believe.
Yeah,
We had a good meeting with Doug and with,
Yeah.
Lincoln.
Lincoln. Yeah, it was informative on both sides.
I would say I did sit in the CHA meeting. As far as housing, it looks like the way they're leaning is just giving more tools to the toolbox with optional, nothing mandatory.
Have they considered just disbanding what they're doing? Because they're making it worse.
It's interesting, cause I got asked to sit on a panel in Utah County last Saturday. And the
How did
legislators
that
I
go?
was with, yeah, we've stepped
It's a
in,
joke.
so the two I was with were like, we should be out of this, we probably made
Yeah.
this worse. So I think there's an appetite,
From 16 to 9.
At this
I
point,
think the appetite is changing.
At this point, they need to say, all right, we need to take a breather here and assess what we've done so far and see if anything has worked. And before we,
Well, I think they realize that they've got 120,000 units entitled, that
If they,
But we've been
listen,
saying
if you
that
took all
for
the money that
years.
has been spent on all the meetings and all the legislation and all the draft work and
Ridiculous.
all the reporting and all the stuff that the cities have to do, and the money being invested in, Olin Walker and other housing funds and the state budget for the starter homes, you do all that stuff, and you just divided that up and gave it to every household in Utah, you would do more to impact housing affordability.
Amen.
Yeah.
But we've been saying it for years, we've been asking.
Proven,
but that's
It
logical.
would have more impact.
That's
but
logical
at
though.
Cause
this
at least
point,
now you would be working on
at this point, they need to show, they need to prove that what they're doing has any value.
Isn't that why, yeah, but
Right.
for years, they should have, okay, here's what we think's gonna fix it, okay? Now, before you do something else, show it, but then the
Right.
next year, there's another fix and another fix and another fix, yeah.
Because it.
That's
they
why
gotta
there
give it
should be a
time, yeah.
law that says you can only run X amount of bills per year.
So for, whoever's in those
Just-
rooms or having these conversations, if we can start to maybe change the tone of those conversations to at this point, before we start pushing some new initiative, let's take a look at what's been done.
Show me.
And is this worthwhile?
Has it moved the needle at all?
And if none of it has worked, what
Then what
evidence
do
do you have, what data do you have, what proof do you have that what you're trying to do is going to result in what you're hoping to result in? If not, don't do it.
That's funny, that's the league's message this year.
You
is-
created this for a reason, so can you demonstrate that you're
Hopefully their
making a
backbone's hard.
difference at all? If not, then
Stop
do away with it.
So there are a lot of bills because
100 or so.
they haven't necessarily. They haven't embraced that concept, so you're gonna see a
Well, I don't
lot.
think anybody's even introduced it yet, it's just, okay, well, let's do something else, let's do
Or
something else,
push
let's
it.
do more.
I think the conversation comes up every year, and I just don't, at least amongst those of us who have to, I don't know that the legislators themselves have talked about
But,
doing
well,
less.
see, that's why sometimes I get so frustrated with the league, I wish I would have been here when Cam was here,
Right.
because every year in those caucus meetings, at the league meetings, this has been, screamed at from high growth cities. It's been said, stop. And every year, we sit in LPC meetings and we go, do you support this? Do you support this? Well, not really, but we don't come back and we don't say, look, stop it. The league is not gonna support anything until you stop. And let us see what really is happening, but we don't. We just keep playing ball because we don't wanna upset the
We're just
legislators.
reacting,
And it's like, well, but the whole point of a league is to be our voice and say, you gotta stop doing this. You're killing our people, or you're killing our economy.
Well, I think
But
you're
we
gonna see a
don't.
big change. Our last board meeting at the league was 4 or 5 of us pushing that same, like, let's push the stop, but at the same time, we've gotta come up with, we've gotta be proactive rather than reactive, and so I think it was too late to really get ahead of it this session. I think you're gonna see some big changes in attitude. There's a different board. It's a big turnover in the board this year.
Yeah.
I think you've got some new different attitudes at the board. And we'll see. I hope so. I'm optimistic.
So as of today, there's 149 House bills filed and
That are
77
numbered.
Senate bills that are numbered.
The bill requests are much higher than that.
I was gonna say,
Those are the ones that are numbered.
149
just wait.
Good job.
There's about 20 House bills per day
I just don't,
getting
I
numbers.
just don't even know how you, as a ethical legislature, how do you even get your head around reading that many bills? You can't. That's why it has to
I
stop.
don't know that you could use that adjective.
Well, probably not, but that's their responsibility. And it's just wrong. It's just lacks integrity.
So we'll be having more of these conversations, we'll be bringing you, trying to at least keep a running list of those that we, to the best of our ability, we think will impact us. And we'll start including that. It's a long list, I'm trying to figure out how to include it in the packet where it's not so small, like the assignments you got, so we'll have to work on that. We're using Teams internally to do that, and you probably have access to it, but if you don't use it regularly, that may be more of a challenge for you to get into there, so.
I guess that's one way
Well-
they stimulate the economy is they create a lot of busy work for everyone, so jobs,
They do.
lobbyists and things like that, right?
Mr. Mayor, if you would, in your next, board meeting with the league, and I know I say this somewhat facetiously, but there's a legitimate message behind this, is that affordability is a ratio of two numbers. It's what the price of homes is compared to the income of the people buying the house, right? And everything that they have done or attempted to do has only addressed what they think is the price of housing. And they have not impacted housing prices downward at all. Before you do another bill that changes anything to do with housing, how about they cut taxes or do other things to increase the take-home wages of the average Utahn so they have more money to pay for the stuff that costs so much money right now?
Absolutely.
Right? They wanna raise taxes and wanna do all this other stuff, they put in all these new fees and all this new stuff, and that is what is burdening taxpayers.
Yeah.
When you have the school district doing $100 billion and the county doing all this money, that is what is actually impacting housing affordability. And that's where they should be taking action. If they want suggestions from us, that should be where we should push back.
Okay.
Do something that does the other side of this ratio that affects affordability and actually has an impact.
To that point, they're trying to affect something that is subject to market
Absolutely,
forces.
100%.
That they can do nothing about it. They can't. There's nothing they can do about that side of the equation other than pad the pockets of their friends, right? It's the other side that they actually could do something about.
I agree 100%. And the thing about it is it what they're doing on this side by subsidizing those 30-something thousand new homes means that they further decrease the wages on this side, making the gap even further between wages and affordability.
Especially when they're
Killing
subsidizing
us.
the lower incomes or the
Yeah,
first.
because pretty soon the
Just
people
making
who
it
own
worse.
a home right here, they could never afford to sell their home because they're hanging on by the skin of their teeth because every time they turn around, they're taking it somewhere else.
Sorry, one last comment, and I'll let that go. If you want to affect the actual price of housing, it's simply supply and demand. The demand is for single-family homes. Just look at the supply versus demand ratio over the last 15 years and tell us the whole story.
Since 2013.
Increase the supply of single-family homes and you normalize those prices across the board.
I agree.
And quit throwing out the threatening propaganda about, well, your kids will never be able to live here. You have to do this because your kids will never be able to live here. It's ridiculous.
Okay. We'll do it. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, seeing none, do we want to try to do close real fast? How long do we gotta take?
We can do it. We can do it. We can do it.
Okay. Okay, look for, motion. We have 2 items.
I make a motion to temporarily recess the city council meeting to go into closed meeting for the following purposes as provided in Utah State Code annotated section 52-4-205. Strategy sessions to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation, discussion regarding deployment of security personnel, devices, or systems.
Second. Motion by Steve, second by Teddy. Jared?
Yep.
Teddy?
Yes.
Sherry? Steve?
Yes.
I vote yes. We'll stay here.
Bryce,
Chief.
Meet
Bryce Lake, that.